So from listed companies, let's move on and talk about some of the new listings which are likely to happen. Inox Wind is one such company which is in the renewable space doing some excellent work, and they are in the market to raise capital, and we have the management of Inox to talk more about that. Devansh, talk to us about the size of the IPO and where exactly will the proceeds be going?
First and foremost, I'd like to share some good news. We closed our anchor book yesterday. We've got some of the marquee foreign and domestic institutions, as well as some of India's largest investors, such as ICICI Pru, HDFC, Birla, the Enam Group, Morgan Stanley and Nomura. So very excited about that. Coming to your question with respect to the 270 crores, at the Inox Green level, the primary raise is 370 crores. So while 270 crores is clearly elucidated towards debt repayment, the remaining 100 towards general corporate purposes would also be used to pay down debt eventually. What that would leave us is basically with one SPV at the Inox Green level. As many of you may be aware, we've already sold 4 such SPVs in the recent past, 3 to Adani and 1 to Torrent Power. The last SPV, which we intend to flip in the near future, would release 300 crores incremental of the balance sheet. So 370 IPO, 300 from the last SPV which we have on our balance sheet would make the company a net debt-free company.
Can you also clarify about if any loans or advances we have seen some work which is done on the Gujarat Fluoro side also. That is a group company. Do you have any transaction there?
Well, actually, once we repay the debt, the guarantees automatically fall off.
Okay, that's an important clarification which is coming in. All right, let's talk about the plans from here on. Do you have any inorganic plans also going forward of acquisitions? Have you marked any kind of potential candidates out there?
So basically, at Inox, as you may be aware, we have a 3 odd gigawatts of O&M contracts contracted, which is akin to an annuity business with very, very high margins. How we intend to grow the business is organically, obviously, with all new turbines which are set up at the Inox Wind level, besides the annual escalation which we have in our 3 gigawatts of contracts. But on the inorganic side, basically what's happened in India, we've got a 40 gigawatt installed capacity in terms of wind. 12 odd gigawatt out of that are those players where the OEMs have gone bust, they've gone bankrupt or have left the country. So basically, 12 odd gigawatt is now being serviced primarily by unorganized players. So what we want to do post the IPO is basically look at taking over a big chunk of that market and making the sector move from an unorganized. In the unorganized sector, many of these guys are very, very small players doing 100 to 300, 400 megawatts. They don't have any professional management team. They don't have the working capital. They don't have the financial muscle to provide robust or global standard O&M services. And I think our objective is to move in and acquire these players. I think this would happen by 2 or 3 ways. We could look at acquiring some of these aggregators. We could look at some of the O&M contracts shifting to us automatically, given we're now a very large independent service provider, probably the largest independent service provider now listed in India, maybe one of the largest globally as well. So that's a little bit about the growth plan.
Right. Before we let you go, Devansh, talk to us about the size of the opportunity in the Indian renewable space and how would you want to go about capturing it?
Well, from an Indian context, I mean, globally, renewables has been the buzzword for a while. Even from the Indian context, we've announced a massive 500 odd gigawatt plan by 2030, and we're presently at 150 gigs of renewables. So we're aiming for 350 gigs in the next 8 years. That tantamounts to almost 40 to 45 gigawatts of yearly installations. Now, within the 500 gigawatts, the goal for wind is 175 gigawatts. And we're presently at about 40, 42 gigawatts. So that tantamounts to almost 16 gigawatts of yearly installations. Now, the maximum we've ever set up in India in terms of wind capacity is close to 4.85 gigs. And the maximum solar we've done is about 15 to 17 gigs. So we are really talking of more than 2xing solar installations and 3xing wind installations.
All right, Devansh, thanks very much for joining us and good luck for your IPO there. With that, it's a wrap on the show. Thanks very much for watching. Goodbye.